Okay, so continuing the Q&A piece, someone asked about the versus threads that I do. Okay. Initially, I was just going to do a bunch of Doomsday fights and then redo fights that came out of larger comics. So Marvel versus DC was a source for a lot of them. Even the random off panels, as well as Avengers versus X-Men. You know, there's always been that, what if so-and-so fought so-and-so? And then it came to including other genres. It was just, you look at what's kind of popular, what people were discussing, and just kind of throw out my little 2 cents into it. It's been, for the most part, positive. I get a lot of negative. Man, I get a lot of negative. I've had to ban a lot of people for getting really profane and throwing out racial and ethnic slurs. And sexual slurs. It's like, you realize this is like the theoretical combat of fictional characters, right? There's no reason to be like, I'd break your arms if I saw you in person. Yeah, you've got problems. Sorry, in my mind, I can envision Batman beating Spider-Man. Sorry. And I can make the case for it. You don't agree with the case. Fine. There's no reason to say you're going to, beat me with a baseball bat or anything. And most, of course, was born out of, in late 80s, early 90s, I actually went to comic shops. Back people used to actually travel to places to buy comics. And there was always people discussing, what if so-and-so fought so-and-so? So from that point on, a lot of it was the physical, verbal back and forth of, oh, well, so-and-so beat so-and-so because of this, that, and the other thing. But then when you actually read through a lot of the comics, it's up to the writer. I mean, as much as fans think that there's a set of rules that writers are going to go by, no. Nope. At any point in time, a character can have a new power, they can lose a power, it doesn't matter. So the debate, Superman is like, Superman, green kryptonite. Well, he has with red, and yellow, and blue. So you can pretty much take any color you want to be like, here's a version of kryptonite, it does this to him. Okay? How many times did he face a villain where he lost his powers? Or a villain took his powers? Or they went, aha, sun's red, no powers. You know what? Now you're weak to electricity, because the TV show said you are. Okay? This new villain is stronger, okay? But he's not faster. No. Alright. It's kind of like going to a friend's house and you play with a bunch of toys. Then someone else comes over, plays with the same toys, and does something different with them. So as much as there's that idea of so-and-so always beats so-and-so, no. On paper, it's tough to be like Lex Luthor beats Superman. He's a regular guy. Smart. A lot of tech. Taking on a guy who spent time understanding the alien technology from his homeworld. With super speed, heat vision, frost breath, super strength, and vulnerability. Some rapid healing. That's a lot for a single, really smart guy to overcome. But he does. That's his most classic villain. Look at Spider-Man. They're pretty much all doctors. Okay? He has a lot of inventor villains. Alright? But Doc Ock, smart. Is he smart as Peter Parker? It's hard. Again, depends on writer. But I'd probably say he's a little bit smarter than Spider-Man. Just a little bit. But other writers have put Spider-Man at the Reed Richards level. If that's a true statement, then no. He's definitely smarter. Was he faster? Yeah. Was he stronger? Depends on the tentacles he's got. Doc Ock actually for a while had a pair of adamantium tentacles that actually allowed him to defeat Professor Hulk. Easily. Now, if he's got tentacles that could trash Professor Hulk, that means he should pretty easily be able to just absolutely destroy Spider-Man with those. But Spider-Man's got speed, natural durability, superior resilience when it comes to bludgeoning attacks. There's a whole host of things that Spider-Man has in his advantage. And all he's really got to do is evade and web. Once it gets the tentacles taken care of, he just punches him in the head and that's it. Or he can web him to his face. I mean, on paper, Doc Ock really shouldn't be a problem for Spider-Man. A lot of villains shouldn't be a problem, but they are. That's the way the story is written. It's either that or you're going to constantly have villains that are just team busters. And then heroes fight heroes. A lot of times you go, there's no way that Cyclops is a problem with Captain America. He looks and he shoots a concussive blast from his eyes. Other guy, soldier with his shield. Well, I can just open my eyes. And I've got a non-stop, well, depending on writer. For some people it's a solar energy that he's blasting through his eyes. And I can just look at him. And wherever I can look at, I'm going to blast a hole through. Or I can bounce it off a surface, because for a while Cyclops ability to bounce off surfaces. Okay. Captain America's hit with the shield. Captain America's defeated the whole Avengers before. Yes, Captain America has beaten Thor. Does it make any sense? No. Doesn't have to. It's a comic. They're all individualized stories. So looking at the fact that any character could beat any character, depending on writer, sometimes, yes, they do use PIS. It's plot-induced stupidity. Certain characters get massive power upgrades. If you go back through, I think it was 90s DC, they did a storyline called, I think it's Underground Unleashed. The idea behind it is they had constantly upgraded the heroes, and they then had Neuron show up and like, hey, you want to sell your soul? Yeah. I'll give you a power upgrade. You want a power upgrade? Just give me your soul. Hey, instead of wearing a suit, you actually are part Snake now. Isn't that cool? I give you a new set of powers. Because then it becomes the arms race. As a hero gains a new power, villain gets to gain a new power. As a villain gains a new power, hero has to gain a new power. Effectively, reading comics is like a long version of Dragon Ball Z. A new villain shows up, they're more powerful, heroes become more powerful. More powerful heroes require either them to become depowered or to become a mass repowering of villains. So knowing that was the constant arms race, I was like, well, I can't look at one specific attribute. Because most characters are either really good in one skill, or they're pretty good in multiple skills. Going back to when I used to go to comic shops, Spider-Man was ridiculously popular. So it was always, well, could Spider-Man beat so-and-so? It's Spider-Man Hulk. I'll think it through. Most people go, there's no way, Hulk is way too strong. Other people. But he can't hit Spider-Man, he's too fast. Plus he has webbing. Hulk is too strong for him, why does it even matter? There's nothing that Spider-Man can do that can beat Hulk. Well, have they fought in comics? Who's won? How have they won? If you go far enough back, I know people have mentioned this before when I say Spider-Man loses fights. Spider-Man beat Firelord, who was a herald of Galactus. Of course, he beat him with like a gas station explosion. But Thanos has also flown a helicopter and was robbing banks in an issue before as well. Sometimes people don't quite understand the character. Yes, Thanos, I want to say it was a Spider-Man book just after Infinity Gauntlet, when he was a hot character. They had Thanos in a helicopter robbing a bank. He was arrested. Thanos was arrested. That's the reason why they did, I think it was the end, no, Infinity Invest, when they're like, he has clones and robots. Doom has clones and robots. Because it allows them to go, yeah, this one didn't make any sense. It was a Doom bot. It was a robot. It wasn't me. And they do that because sometimes someone gets beaten for a reason that makes no sense. Here. Great example. Can Wolverine scratch Thing? Thing covered in rocks. Can Wolverine deal significant damage to Thing? He did. Just look up hockey mask Thing. Yeah, Wolverine messed up so badly they actually put a mask on Thing. Like a hockey mask. Does it make sense? In the grand scheme of things, no. If Thing has been shown to be a relative good hold-up against Hulk, depending on variation of Hulk, how in the world does Wolverine deal so much damage to Thing that he has to wear a mask? adamantium versus a guy made of stone. He's Wolverine has technically gone against Galactus. Didn't do any good. And a buddy of mine, while discussing Wolverine fighting Galactus, he was like, well, think about it this way. What if Wolverine got inside Galactus? Like, we cut a hole inside his eye. I'm like, so we now have a Wolverine being swallowed by Galactus and attacking his way down. Yeah. I mean, his recovery's fast enough. It's like he's going to be fighting digestion inside Galactus. Yeah. I can vision it happening. I don't picture it happening now. Thing has knocked over Galactus. Of course, he was hungry at the time. So you start seeing that it's crazy that Galactus really strong. Yeah, he was hungry, so that's like Thor beat him. Thor knocked him down, or Thing tripped him over. So that makes it difficult because it's like, well, I can't just look at one specific attribute or one specific, time something happened. So you kind of have to go with, well, let's look at the average abilities that are used. And then as I started crafting through more of it, it's like, well, Reed Richards was actually smart and he can prep. Okay, Reed Richards actually has fought Hulk one-on-one. He tried to suffocate Hulk. You know what? It's a good plan. Really good plan. Until Hulk pretty much swallowed Reed Richards and spit him out on the ground. He was able to essentially compress Reed Richards to the point that he knocked him out and then spit him out. Yes, in a comic, the Hulk swallowed Reed Richards and then spit him out. Okay. So he had a plan. He used his intelligence. Because you couldn't beat him straight up. Can't Hulk be suffocated? Well, he has before. But he can live underwater. Because he can get that much air in his lungs. Okay. Technically, some writers say he can survive in space. Other writers, you know what? He's been suffocated before. Sometimes tear gas works. Sometimes it doesn't. There's no set specific rules as to what defines each character. So as I was going through, I'm like, well, if anybody can beat anybody, I can't just look at one specific attribute. For some people, Flash wins because he's fast. Hulk wins because he's strong. Juggernaut wins because he's really, really invulnerable. Well, when Wolverine wins because, you know what? His durability is way too high. Okay. Doom wins because he's Doom. Sky wins because he's really smart. Well, what if we looked at everything? What if we actually went through the process of going, who's more intelligent? And sometimes it's educational. Sometimes it's how are they from a tactical standpoint. Sometimes it's how much experience do they have? How long have they been around? Are they a virtually immortal character? There's a lot of things that make up what is intelligence. Sometimes it is just, two characters, but one character has a vastly better educational background. As people do the whole, but that doesn't matter. Well, a high educational background normally means you have a decent amount of problem solving. That's all that really means. What makes Lex Luthor really dangerous? He's really smart. And he can look at a situation and he can analyze it and figure out what to do. And why is he good at that? Because he's fought people a lot. He's really, really geared towards Superman. Why? He's faced him a bunch of times. He has the experience, and he has a great tactical background, and he's a technological genius. So those are pretty good attributes as to why he's dangerous against someone like Superman. If he takes on Batman, not as much. It's like, aha! Red solar laser. Okay. Be a laser. He's experienced against one individual. He knows a lot about the other characters, but he's more geared towards facing Superman because he knows his weaknesses. Fighting ability. Certain characters are just great fighters. That's self-explanatory. Strength, same thing. Invulnerability, resistance to damage. Sometimes a character might be really strong in one of his basic attributes. I kind of used almost the Dungeons and Dragons version where you got bludgeoning, slashing, piercing. That's pretty much what you've got for the vast majority of incoming damage. Certain characters, like Wolverine. Adamantium skeleton, good against bludgeoning. Spider-Man, pretty good against bludgeoning because his body actually naturally gives when he gets hit because of his enhanced flexibility. Okay. Makes sense. But take a sword to Wolverine, it's going to do some damage. But unless it has spot versus Carnage, it's not going to go anywhere. Piercing? Yep. That's why you'll see people who will pierce things through, the soft palate of his, through the bottom of his mouth and through the soft palate. There is not a bone there. That's why I want to say it was Bendis. For the longest time, he'd be, I'd take a Wolverine. Oh, it's a knife in the throat. Oh, okay. Just enough to take him out for a couple of panels. Then try to cut his head off. No, just put a knife in there. Just enough to slow him down. Has Wolverine been knocked unconscious? Yeah, he actually has been. Captain America's done it. Spider-Man's done it. Pretty much a lot of people who have a low enough level of metahuman strength can knock him out. Because, yeah, it's all adamantium around his brain. But what happens is you hit him so hard it bounces back and forth. It's like taking an egg inside a glass jar and shaking it. You're going to break the egg. You're going to give him some brain damage. He's going to fall unconscious. He's going to wake up pissed, but he can still be knocked unconscious. Okay? Durability. Certain guys have really, really great stamina. What makes Wolverine and Sabretooth powerful characters? They recover quickly. Wolverine is not a great fighter. He can be, but the problem is he uses Berserker Rage mode and then it's all animal instinct. And then he's a tough fighter. People who are highly skilled can do a good job against him when he hits Berserker Rage. Do they beat him? No. Because every time you punch him in the head, the moment your fist comes back, he's already began the process of healing. You have to overcome the fact that his fighting his scale has dropped tremendously, but he takes a tremendous beating before he'll go down. Unless you get one good lucky shot, jostles the brain, he falls unconscious. He'll be up real quick, but it gives you some breathing time. For a while I actually stopped at, so it was intelligence, findability, strength, speed, durability, and vulnerability, and then I think I just stopped at EP, which is just range. And a lot of that was just, for certain characters, once the fight gets out of, arm's length, who's better? Certain characters are gadget characters. So they're more designed for, I'm going farther away from you. I want to be just far enough away that I can use my tools to wear you down to get in close and defeat you. Other characters don't have that as much. We'll look at Green Goblin, Spider-Man. Spider-Man, webbing. Lots of great uses for webbing. Green Goblin, well, he's got armor. Doesn't really have a lot of really great reflexes because it's in a light set of armor as opposed to Spider-Man. Is he intelligent? Yeah. Very intelligent character. However, he's crazy. Crazy kind of affects how well you can think of a plan. But what makes him really dangerous? Glider. Glider's full of weapons. If your option is, I go webbing, or, I throw bombs. Well, how powerful are your bombs? My bombs take out buildings. Okay, so you're throwing massive explosive devices, and I'm shooting webbing. Could be impact webbing, but it's still webbing. Well, that's a lot more dangerous from range. This is kind of where I stopped at. I stopped right there, and I was like, that's the 7. I like to keep it at an odd number so you don't get ties, or you very infrequently get ties. Some people have said, well, if you had an 8 or a 10, but then instead of doing that, instead of being currently it's 1 or 0. If I were instead go to like a check plus check minus system, where some characters they're close enough that I can say one's check plus, one's check, or there's a big difference and it's check minus, or if it's huge and it's check plus versus check minus, or going into like a 10-point scale, and then it's the total of all those points together, and that just leads to a lot more ambiguity than what I really wanted. I like the fact that I can have 5 to 4s. Because a 5 to 4, person with 5 should win more often. Doesn't mean they don't win. It means they fight 100 times, you're looking maybe 65% of the time you've got the person with 5 wins. Can a scenario be written up where another person wins? Yeah, of course. Dr. Doom has taken the power of Silver Surfer multiple times. Silver Surfer shouldn't be in the position where he's like, oh, what's going on? Walk into a room. Ah, I've been touched by dust and takes away my powers. But it's happened multiple times. Is it because Doom has super speed? No. It's because Doom crafts a plan, knows how Surfer's going to react, knows where he's going to be, and then takes his powers. And it's not always just you knock him off his board. For some writers, it's, well, he loses his board, that's it, his powers are gone. Other writers is like, no, his powers are internally, bring the board back to himself. So even with that, from that aspect, it's different from writer to writer. So then I have adding versatility, which was just, how many other skills does somebody have? Certain people, they don't bring a really strong opening attack, but they bring a lot of smaller attacks. Look, something like Batman. I'll use Batman and Green Goblin. Green Goblin, heavy explosives, rockets, lasers. He's showing up to destroy large amounts of real estate. Batman, if he's not using the Batwing or the Batmobile, he's not designed for that. He's designed for multiple styles of situations. He's not walking around with explosives. If he is, they're small portable explosives. But he's designed to deal with a wide array of things going on. If he knows, it's like, oh, it's a burning building, he'll take something from the Batmobile, which is a mobile gigantic version of the utility belt, and he'll have that with him. Or he'll have enough small things attached to him to help him get through most situations. So he might not have the big bang, but he's got enough things to take care of a lot of other situations. And then when it came to X Factor, that again was one of those, what's that last intangible thing? What's the one thing that pushes one person farther than the other? And that, of course, it's up to the discretion. What is my discretion? So it might be that a character might not have the highest level of skills in all these different areas, but they might have something pretty unique about them. I'll use Flash. Flash, depending on which Flash you're using, he's not just speed. He's speed and all the abilities associated with speed, whether it's intangibility. Sometimes, I think it was, for a while, I want to say he wasn't Impulse, he was Kid Flash at the time. He could do energy duplicates, so he could actually be multiple places at the same time, where he actually could gather information from multiple locations. But if you killed an energy duplicate, he went to a small catatonic state. Other Flash didn't have the ability to make multiple clones of himself just out of energy to gather information and come back. It's an interesting ability. And that's an attribute of his speed. Stealing speed. Well, stealing speed from somebody doesn't actually fall in any other category. You could say it's part of versatility, but it's not. Because not all Flashes can do it. And it's not really a truly offensive ability. It removes the offense of a character. Okay. Grinds him down to a halt. Okay. Or maybe someone's ability is so strong in one sense that it actually gives them 2 additional points. When it comes to Juggernaut. Juggernaut, at his height, I always loved when they had, they draw the black line and the wavy line around him. To let you know that he had a mystic energy force around him. Could you stop him? No. Could you hit him? No. What were his vulnerabilities? Well, he had to remove his helmet. Okay. For some writers, there were 4 clips that held the helmet in place. Other times it was, no, a good stiff shot can jostle the helmet free. And then his durability and vulnerability dropped tremendously. And then you can beat him down. Sometimes he crushed the whole X-Men. Other times, Colossus would hold him down and do a pretty good job against him. This, of course, is pre-buffed Colossus. And other times, he was written in such a way where it's like, it doesn't matter what you do. He's going to move forward. He said constantly, that's his thing. When Jordan took on Warhulk, people actually zoomed in and they're like, well, if you look at the wave lines, you can tell he stopped it. Some people are like, no, he's not going forward, he's going down, but he's still going. It's like, we're now looking at the artist's rendition of wave lines and the positioning of Juggernaut's foot from one frame to the next. It's like, he stopped it. No. He's going down. He's not going forward anymore, he's going down. But he's still progressing. Okay? So from that aspect, I was like, well, what other random piece? And sometimes it ends up being, a character's got so much experience, they fought guys like that before, they might actually have an edge. Sometimes it's, this guy can just pull it off. People have recommended that I change it to heart. So that way it's, well, you're not going to beat Spider-Man because he's going to go until that's it. He's not a guy who's going to quit. When I did, I want to say it was a Deadpool fight. And I was like, it's going to happen sooner or later. And it was Batman Deadpool. I think for the X Factor, I was like, it was money. Deadpool's going to fight until Batman goes, how much are you being paid? How much are you being paid? A lot. I'm Bruce Wayne. How much money do you want to get this to end this? Oh. I would like... Fine. You got an account. What about the bat phone? Check your phone. We done? We are totally done, Bruce. Fist bump? How about some chimichangas? So for certain cases, it ends up there's an easy way to go. These two guys would fight until blank. And other times it was just, I couldn't think of a good ninth piece. Sometimes it's an attribute that I couldn't put into one of the other ones, or it's just an exemplification of one of the other attributes. So that's a real brief bit about why I did the versus fights and how I came up with the methodology behind it. It does also not lend itself well to every fight. Certain fights that I've been asked, I don't know how many times I've looked at Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna, and I'm like, it doesn't. I'm like, I got a system, and it doesn't fit. Cosmic characters don't fit very well into it either. It's like Galactus. Does he have super speed? No. Does he have super strength? Given his size, technically yes. What's his durability? Well, he eats planets. What's his invulnerability? Well, he's taken some pretty substantial shots. Energy protection? Yeah, he's got it. Versatility? Yeah, he's got it. X Factor. He'll probably always have X Factor because he's a Galactus. Some people have thrown out Mogo versus Ego. I love that. That's the Green Lantern planet versus the living planet of the Marvel Universe. I don't know how I would truly classify the intelligence of a planet. Strength of a planet. Speed. Now, someone like Unicron, which was a planet that became a transformer. So a living planet that becomes a giant robot planet. Well, it makes sense. Now all of a sudden he's got the attributes that allow me to look through the rubric and go boom, 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 boom. But two planets? Not so much. The other cosmic entities. Some people ask for like Spectre Living Tribunal or Spectre Eternity. So I've got the Wrath of God or Vengeance of God, depending on how you look at it, or the Spirit of Vengeance. On one hand, versus the living embodiment of a universe in the other. Maybe pre-Crisis Spectre, who's actually able to hold off Anti-Monitor? Maybe? Was there a good chance of battling an actual reality base itself? Or like Ganthet versus Oatu. Okay, Guardian versus Watcher. Watcher has a he doesn't get involved. Watcher versus Metron. Metron actually gets involved. He actually tells people things. Where Oatu's kind of like, and you go, oh, he's here. Something's going down. It's like my job is just to stay. I observe things. I don't tell you what's going on, man. I observe things. Not allowed to tell you what's going on. Or I guess now it's Nick Fury, the Watcher. I don't think that's a spoiler, and it's a couple years old. You know, certain characters don't lend themselves well to it. Other characters I don't have a really huge background on. I get a lot of random anime ones, and you know, don't watch a lot of anime. Sorry. I can find out what I can, but if it's a fight that I'm just not feeling, probably won't do it. I get a lot of ones with video game characters. I know a lot about them, but if I don't play the games a lot, I have to kind of go, alright, let's watch a bunch of video game footage. Let's read some, you know, the wikis on characters. Let's do Google searches, Bing searches, you know, Ask searches. Let's do Comic Vine searches. Let's hit a bunch of different forums that do versus. See if this has been done. See what they have for rationales behind things. See what other pieces of video, like whatever sorts of, you know, research that I can find. And let's come to a conclusion basis what I can off that research at that time. And sometimes people will complain that I didn't include information for things that happened after the video was done. So like the date, that's kind of an important thing to look at. And with that, I look forward to another Q&A. Hopefully next week I'll have everything squared away with open broadcast software and have redesigned the Excel spreadsheets that I do for all that. And I'll try to do Mega Man versus Mario next week.